Good evening. It is now 6:30 p.m. on Monday, October the 28th, and I now call the Winton Woods City School Board of Education meeting to order. If you could please turn your cell phones to silence and then rise with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Cupoletti? Here. Mrs. Kuhn?
Present.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Present.
Mr. Birdie?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present. Just as a reminder that all of our work that we do follows the SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-sensitive. And they have been established by the district, which includes the student achievement, resource alignment, and community engagement. The next item on the agenda is 2.01, our district honors, recognitions, gifts, and introductions. I'd like to invite Mrs. Katrina Ruggless to take the podium, and Mr. Smith, you will have the floor.
So our first recognition and gifts would come from the group, from the Kiwanis group. And I'd like to have Jalea Miles come to the...
She's en route soon.
You're Miss Perkins, okay. All right, we'll come back to her.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to the Kiwanis Student of the Month. Where's Ariana Green? Yes. So this is a great letter from Mr. Brad Tash, Ariana's counselor. Ariana Green is a 10th grader here at Winton Woods. During her time, Ariana has distinguished herself as one of our top students in the building. This sentence that I'm going to read now is very compelling. She has never earned a grade lower than an A. If you have those same compelling qualities, please stand. Okay. All right.
I'm standing, but that's not me.
We're currently at the end of first quarter, and her lowest percentage score is 95%. Ariana has an incredible work ethic, and she is always taking on leadership roles within the classroom. She sets very high goals and does what it takes to achieve them. Ariana is also active outside of school. She is a member of our orchestra and recently performed in our orchestra concert. Ariana is a student athlete as well, a valued member of the cross-country team. On top of that, Ariana has been working at Kings Island for the past 2 years. She also serves the community by making sandwiches to raise money for city organizations. Incredible. As you can see, Ariana Green is a standout in our warrior community. She embodies everything we look for in our young warriors. I cannot think of a more deserving recipient for this award, and Ariana Green is the Kiwanis Student of the Month.
Certificate. Obviously, you've earned it. Sure to check the back. There's a little gift on there for you.
Thank you.
And I think they want to take some pictures of us.
Bring your family up, please.
Oh, yes, Mom does. No, dress up.
See, Mom, we send you a nice letter saying be prepared for a photo opportunity. Tis. Ariana, would you like to say a few words? Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Ariana. I really like participating in this school. I love the clubs that we have. Like I just joined HPAC. and it's where we find ways to help our community in certain categories. And I'm doing substance abuse, so we're gonna be making a cause or awareness for that. So yeah, I just like helping the community and helping others.
Bravo. Incredible. Parents, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but tell me which one of you guys has that 4.0 all A's kind of mentality. That's Dad. Oh, Dad, Dad says yes. That's me. Recognize me.
Mom was pointing at it.
Way to go. Way to go. It's about time some dads got some love in the world, don't you think? All right. So our next recipient is Student Athlete of the Month, and I have been watching this young lady grow. She is absolutely amazing, and her name is Aiden Hassard. Aiden has been part of the Winton Woods Cross Country program for the past 5 years. Through this time, I've seen her grow as an athlete, a scholar, and as a person. Her growth and dedication has been unparalleled over these past 5 years as she has continued to push through all obstacles with regards to academics and has fought through every challenge that she has faced in cross country. She is a true warrior. To be nominated for the Skyline Student Athlete of the Month, students must maintain an academic standard of 3.0 or higher. The previous quarter, show respect for coaches, teammates, officials, teachers, and other students' family, show enthusiasm and a positive attitude, display commitment to practice games and personal skill development, demonstrate honesty in playing by the rules, have high moral character. The Skyline Student Athlete of the Month is sponsored by the Forest Park Skyline Chili Restaurant, a business partner of Winton Woods City Schools. Students who are honored receive an incredible Skyline gift card. Way to go, Aiden. So Aiden, we read a little bit about your athletic ability, but you do other things in the school. So once we get this photo, we're going to have you tell us a little bit about those things.
She's excited.
Are you a musician?
Yeah,
Okay. Tell us a little bit about it.
I've been in band since 5th grade. I've been in symphonic band 3 years now in high school. It's the top band.
Okay. And what instrument?
Trombone.
Trombone. Fantastic. All right. Did other members, people come with you or just Mom?
Just mom.
Just Mom. Way to go. All right. So, anything else you want to tell us about you? You seem so enthusiastic. Okay, very good. All right. Our October Skyline Teacher of the Month is Emma Cipriani. I'm extremely proud to recommend Emma Cipriani as our October Teacher of the Month. Ms. Cipriani is one of our 5th grade math and science teachers and is brand new to us this year. In just a short time, she's built an amazing classroom culture in which one of the students stated, "We get to learn through games, which is a lot of fun." She's super nice and very enthusiastic. She likes to put a smile on kids' faces, and she's the best teacher that I've ever had. Wow. That kid better have an A in that class. Ms. Cipriani has done a great job building self-esteem and confidence in our kids as well. In fact, I just recently asked her to run a workshop at a future staff meeting on building relationships with kids because her knowledge and skill set has to be spread throughout our building. Her partner teacher, Samantha Swartz, stated, "I've loved working with Emma because of her energy and enthusiasm she brings to the classroom. She works hard on building relationships and getting to know each student individually. She's always working so positive and makes you feel so important every day. I couldn't ask to work with a more caring and amazing friend." We couldn't be happier to have hired Ms. Cipriani and couldn't be more thrilled to recommend her for Teacher of the Month. And that comes from her amazing, incredible principal, Mr. Jeremy Day. All right. So usually I don't do this, but you're
Okay.
first year teacher.
Here we
You
go.
just- It was amazing, and you just kind of.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Find us some other teachers.
Okay, cool. Will do.
Okay, who did you bring with you tonight?
Wait, my two teachers over here, Miss Harding, come on, stand
Come on
up.
up, and Mr. Day. Mr. Day, come on.
And then Miss Schwartz, my partner teacher.
Yes.
Come on up, guys. Come
come
on,
on up.
down.
Thank you.
Oh.
I'm safe.
So they mentioned something about enthusiastic attitude.
Yes.
Let's hear.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just like known to be like a little extra, but I do like anything it takes to get the kids engaged and on it. And if you look like a fool in front of the classroom, that's what you got to do sometimes, and they love it. And truly have the best kids and the best staff, the most hardworking, dedicated people that I work with. So they make it way easier and make my job so enjoyable every day.
Bravo.
Honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is Miss Carol Becky Youngs here tonight? We've been trying to get these awards out to these young people, and they're art awards from the September recognition. Is Angel Bates, Rohan Giri, or Robin Giri, are they here tonight? Okay. Angel.
wait.
Come on, we've been waiting for you.
I don't know.
So we've been trying to get you to come here for months, and we couldn't catch up with you. We were going to keep calling your name until we finally got you. Can you tell us a little bit, Angel, since we don't have your piece here with us tonight, tell us a little bit about your artistic piece that you submitted.
So we did this project in art. It was for abstraction, and I picked what is it called? It was a monkey from Antarctica, but I forgot what the name was. But we did a piece on that, and it was Braille art, and I cut up my Braille art and I glued it on a piece of paper, and I just messed it up. And I just glued a whole bunch of stuff together.
And it turned out to be great?
Yeah.
Wow. So for people who have to, rise early, just go in their closet, just grab anything, throw it together. People might think it looks amazing. So try that. Way to go. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Who did you bring tonight? Come on up. Come on up. She here?
She's in the building. She has to make an entrance. She's 5.
Okay, we see
Okay.
what happens.
All right.
Want me to ask her okay?
Is she actually here?
I promise you.
Okay.
I'll go find it. Carry on with the meeting, right?
This is your last. No, you.
Okay, while we're waiting, we can move forward with our Community Spirit Award. And this award goes to an incredible, incredible guy, Mr. Mark Doctor. He is actually our chef. He is not a food service vendor. He is a real chef. And we practiced with some of his great talents on some senior students, and they said the food was absolutely the best that they've ever had. So of course I took credit for making that food. And Mr. Doctor has been an amazing person. Where is Mr. Denny? Mr. Denny, can you come up a little and give a little overview of the awards and some of the other things that we've had the pleasure of having since Mr. Doctor's been on our team?
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Good evening, board. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, I don't think we've thrown anything at you that you haven't been able to just knock out of the park yet. So that's for starters. I think Mark's been with us for 2 years, and Mr. Doctor has tackled some pretty big initiatives and really made a lot of inroads into the community to help provide nutritious meals for as many people as possible. Children, families, community members, et cetera. So we're thrilled. He's a great addition to the team. Am I embarrassing you yet? He doesn't embarrass easy. That's a good quality, too. I also have the distinct pleasure this evening of introducing another accomplishment. This is one of our wellness committee subcommittees, and Mr. Doctor is one of the movers and shakers on that committee. And so I have a letter here. You see it's on American Dairy Association letterhead. And it just reads, Winton Woods City School District, this is to advise the board and administration of Winton Woods City Schools that your district is being awarded the hometown grant from the Cincinnati Bengals and the American Dairy Association Mideast for participation in the Fuel Up to Play 60 national program. This award is granted to the district for use in increasing meal participation for all students and to create physical activity for the students as well. You may be familiar with the NFL Play 60 initiative, basically exercising 60 minutes a day, but it also encourages nutrition. And this grant is in the amount of $10,000.
Wow, amazing.
So we're excited about that, and I'd like to turn it over to Mark, just say a few words about some of the slides you're seeing up here and what the scope of the grant entails.
Yeah. Taking a few pieces out of Mr. Smith's playbook when it comes to speeches and such. But let me first say that I'm deeply, deeply grateful and very honored to receive this award. It's a pretty big thing for me. Thanks. But I look around the room and I'm very humbled by the community spirit that is just in this room, in this district. So I thank you very much. Thank you. And it couldn't have happened without the support of the board, and the admin staff has been phenomenal. The principals, the VPs, they've been just off the charts. They couldn't ask for a better team. Saying that, I'd like my personal team, yes, you're going to stand, please. I have some support here from the food service department. And I have to tell you that Miss Loretta showed up tonight and she gave up bingo, so that's kind of a big thing. Sorry, love. I especially want to point out Miss Vicki Kenninger, come back up. She works right alongside me within the office. And Andrea Telas is not here tonight, but she puts up with me as well. Even though I try to speak to her in Spanish because she's Spanish, but it's quite nice. So before I get into this Fuel Up and tell you about the grant, a little bit about the grant, this is kind of an exciting and incentive piece, but they just told us that we're allowed to have 2, possibly 4 students that are on the team, the Fuel Up team. They can actually go onto the field of a Bengals game against
And play?
Yeah. Well, if they get enough points, yes, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they can actually go on the field, plus they'll need chaperones. So, and I say that because chaperones are typically over 18, and some could be in this room. So, and this is where I'm going to steal from you. So, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to repeat after me. I promise to sign up to Fuel Up to Play 60 within 48 hours. That's your task. We'll send you the link. It's very, very easy. You just go fuelupplay60.com. 5 minutes, you're in. All right? So the more we get, the better we look, the more opportunities we receive for Fuel Up to Play 60. And then we'll get more into the, getting on the field with the kids. We'll incentivize that a little bit somehow. So part of the Fuel Up, so there's two parts. There's a nutritional part, and then there's a physical part. And part of the grant we have to use, majority of the grant we have to use is nutritional, but like $5,001. So for that piece, we're kind of cranking up our nutritional piece with more fresh fruits and vegetables, hotter breakfast. We're actually going to increase our production of smoothies. Sorry, Sherry. Through a couple of the schools. We already do smoothies, but we're going to increase that a little bit more. And we make our own smoothies, by the way. Fresh fruit, yogurt, milk, that type of thing. As you notice, it's American Dairy Association, so when I said that, I think I was a shoo-in. But we're also going to increase parfaits and actually we're going to do hot chocolate. And we're going to make it from scratch. And it's going to be sugar-free, but it rocks. So we're going to be very busy at the high school for sure. So now the physical piece, and this is kind of interesting. So I talked to Captain Jermaine Hill, our assistant chief, sorry, and then Jerome Whitaker, who's one of our maintenance guys. He's into American Ninja. So we're taking American Ninja meets the fire department obstacle course, and we're going to blend the two together, and we're going to create mobile indoor-outdoor obstacle courses for little guys all the way up to the big tykes. Okay. And we are going to be presented, I think, December 3rd or the 10th on it with a big check. We're going to have the Bengals are going to come out, or possibly the Bengals. Definitely Who Day's coming, I hear. We're going to have Who Day do the obstacle course, which ought to be an event in itself. And then and we're going to try to stage it in one of the auditoriums. So as long as I get the okay from Mr. Martin, if he's around. So, but that is the nuts and bolts of the product. So that's kind of what we're doing, and then hopefully we can expand from there and have a couple of different ones, maybe 3 or 4 obstacle courses that we can get the kids involved in. And that's about it.
Fantastic.
Great.
Good?
Absolutely awesome. So for the photo opportunity, let's have the entire team.
Well, I was told that they're having a bad hair day, so, but come on up anyway.
Come on.
Yes,
Didn't you guys get that letter?
it is. I don't know, maybe they're
Okay,
They're all the same. Circle back around. We have some little girl here.
Oh, very good. So I'd like to bring Jalea, but I want her to come down the middle aisle. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're applauding for her, right?
She was not expecting a crowd, so she was not going to come in.
Oh, she's so cute.
So why don't you go up there with her, Miss
I got it.
Wallace? You got her?
I got it.
She might be afraid of her principal. Who knows?
Grown-ups are throwing her off.
She
Okay.
loves 5-year-olds.
So here's a little story about Jalea. When asked to identify one student in my class who goes above and beyond to show respect, I knew I needed to nominate Jalea Miles. Jalea comes from a long line of warriors whom I've had the pleasure of working with. As the youngest in school out of 5, Jalea has inherited the best qualities from her older siblings and is now instilling these same qualities in her baby sister, who is a wee warrior in training. What makes Jalea stand out in the area of respect is her ability to feel deep admiration for others' qualities and achievements. Jalea shows respect to her peers by understanding, empathizing, and celebrating their achievements. Jalea is humble, and that she doesn't focus on her success. Instead, she always strives to help others reach their fullest potential, both academically and socially. Jalea is able to fulfill her own responsibilities in school by being a cheerleader for her classmates. She provides supports for students who need extra help, who are struggling academically, by modeling, repeating directions, and giving a helping hand. Socially, Jalea is a friend to all. She advocates for students who do not stand up for themselves, and she is the first to include a student who is left out. All these beautiful qualities are what make Jalea have the heart of a warrior and deserving of this award. Jalea teaches me every day that it's hard to be 5 in a new school, learning new things with new people. We must be quick to listen, slow to speak, loving in our approach with others to help them be successful. I'm a better teacher for following in Jalea's footsteps. The incredible, infamous Emily Perkins, Primary South kindergarten teacher. Thank you.
I'm gonna stand up, but I'm not leaving.
Yeah,
So who else came with you tonight?
everybody.
Come on up.
Thanks, yeah.
Come on up for the photo opportunity.
Come on, Miles family.
All right, ready? Okay, so we're gonna put you right in the middle, okay, right? I'm not going anywhere. I wasn't kidding. They all wanna know it's you, it's kind of.
A little bit's gonna eat all of that cracker in like 30 seconds before the picture.
Look at Miss Drew. Look at Miss Drew. Where? There we go.
It's a good looking group.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. I did notice that there are family members that are up giving her money. Remember? I read the stuff about her, so. Okay. Fantastic. That was worth the wait.
Yes, it
That was
was.
absolutely
Yes,
beautiful.
Incredible.
All right, so we have a special reading of some information. We are, when our band and our choir and our football team and all of our athletes go and compete against other teams, you wonder what we look like to our opponent. And we received a letter from Edgewood, and I'd like for Mrs. Kuhn to read the letter.
Yes, it's fun to brag on our students. This was written to the Winton Woods superintendent, and they say, I want to compliment the way your band and flag team conducted themselves at tonight's game. We need more examples like your students. The Winton Woods band and flag team came to our side of the field at halftime after they finished their wonderfully talented show and cheered our band on in the most positive way. It left a good impression on many at the game. They danced and joined in. They were a great example to our community, and the expression that they made will last a long time. Kudos to your band. Job well done. Absolute great job, and the most importantly, a great example for all. I hope our band does the same the next chance they get. And I can't say enough about the impression they left in our hearts and minds. I hope you take time to walk down to the band room and say something positive to these young students. They deserve it. By the way, Winton Woods kicked our tails. They did say you have very talented ball players too. And this was written by Renee Agee. She's an Edgewood Cougar fan, and she says now she's a Winton Woods band fan as well.
Fantastic. All right, Madam President.
That's it. Thank you, Mrs. Ruggles and Superintendent Smith, and thank you, Mrs. Kuhn, for reading that. And congratulations to all our students, our teachers, and the administrator and our lunch crew. We appreciate what Mr. Doctor brings to our district. He's brought health and wellness. He's building nutrition throughout the district, and with fun and enthusiasm. And we really appreciate you for what you do. We appreciate your commitment to all of our community partners and your dedication and your sacrifice to serving our district. With that said, we're also very proud of our athletes and our students who travel, because it's not always that you get a good word back from the opposing team, that you're doing a good job. And so we're getting ready to go into a new league going into the next school year. So this is a very proud moment to be able to walk into a new league with that kind of accolade. So with that said, we'll take a 5-minute recess and we'll come right back.
Apologize, Mr. Alex Beeman. We forgot to call your name. That is my error. And you were in the art category of Save Our Souls? Yes, sir. So come on up to the mic. So before we bring your family up for a photo, tell us a little bit about your project.
Okay, so my art piece was for Black History Month, and basically it was supposed to be going down to the downtown to the
Freedom Center?
Yeah, the Freedom Center, yes. And I did the Martin Luther King his initials, and I drew him. And I drew him. I forgot the placement of where he was at, but it was. I thought it would be a cool thing. I did the letters like in a graffiti, way,
Okay.
and that was just my way of putting that in there, because we had a choice of what we wanted to do, so I just decided maybe that would be a good thing, since because I wanted to put something that I like into it also. So yes, sir, that's
Fantastic, sir. We hopefully will get a chance to use that piece in our school in a
Yes, sir.
variety of ways. So, family members, come on up.
Come on.
Grandma says she's not going.
Let's go. Let's take back here.
Yeah, they're gonna come to you, Grandma, so that's the way they do, right? She's not gonna let you off that easy.
Wow.
So she thought she's gonna get off easy. It's like, yeah, we just turned the camera around.
That's awesome.
Yes. All right, thank you so much, and we really apologize for missing that one.
He said it was his mistake.
Yes, for the record, right? All right, have a good evening. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comments, and I did not receive any public comments, so we're going to move on to 5.01, which is the Winton Woods Teachers Association, and you're from OPSI, right? I always forget. Okay, I'm sorry. We don't have anyone from the Teachers Association here, so we're going to go ahead and invite Ms. Ferguson to the podium from the Ohio Association of Public School Employees.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to apologize for my absence the last two board meetings. It could not be helped. However, I am happy to be here tonight and say thank you for acknowledging OC. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we always appreciate when she does come, she
Thank
brings
you.
us candy, so we appreciate you too.
We knew you weren't here for the past 2 weeks, by the way. We knew.
Yes. Well, he's looking for a double portion. What is he saying? Okay. We appreciate the candy. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 6.01, which is the approval of minutes as presented. Board, unless you see any necessary changes, we'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 7.01, the financial statements and for our treasurer's report for September 2019. Mr. Seymour, you have the floor.
Yes, for the summary of the September financials, we had a September 2019 general fund revenues of 18.7 million for the year-to-date, and for the month of September, we had 3.75 million, of which was mostly state receipts and also our homestead and rollback from the state, from local taxation. Also, our expenditures in the general fund for the year-to-date were 12.6 million, leaving us approximately 1.2 million for the quarter under budget. In our total funds available, we had 83.3 million, 24 million in the general fund, 8.6 million in our building fund, and 44.3 million in classroom facilities. That's basically a summary for the month and year-to-date for September.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. With no objections being heard, we'll let the financial statements for the month of September 2019 be submitted to audit. The next item on the agenda is 8.01, the treasurer's recommendation of the investments for September 2019. Mr. Seymour, back to you.
Yes, our investment balance for the month of September was 83.4 million, and we earned $187,900. Of that, $45,500 was for the general fund and $142,500 for the building funds.
Okay, Board, a motion is in order to approve the investment report as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the investment report as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the resolution declaring the necessity of levy for additional tax for current operating expenses. Mr. Seymour, you have the floor.
Yes, here we're asking the board to pass the first resolution to place a levy on the ballot for general operating expense in the amount of 6.95 mils. This resolution then is forwarded to our county auditor, and then they evaluate it and return it for the estimate for the taxpayer, and will pass a second resolution with the ballot language, which is the basically known as you're going to proceed with the on the ballot, and it will have the information as it will appear on the ballot, and it's for the March 17th primary election.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion would be in order to approve the resolution declaring the necessity for the levy additional taxes.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution declaring the necessity of levying an additional tax for current operating expenses as presented for the March 17th, 2020 primary election.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion?
I think one of the notes here that ought to be noted is this would be the district's first request for an increase in funding for general operations in 12 years. So I think that's important for the public and everyone out there to know.
Right, 12 years is a an amazing amount of time in Ohio, especially without going back to the community to ask for additional operating funds. And to be able to stretch those funds for 12 years, I give kudos to our administrative staff and treasurer and the superintendent for being able to make that last so much longer than originally anticipated when the emergency levy was passed in 2009. I think they projected it to last maybe 3 or 4 years, and it tripled that time.
Thank you. Are there any other observations? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 8.03, which is the appropriation for student wellness and success funds. Mr. Seymour, back to you.
As you're aware, the governor proposed, and it was passed legislatively, that we would have funds known as Student Success and Wellness Funds. This is being funded through our foundation funding program, and as you know, we usually received approximately a 3.5% increase on our state funding. That increase did not come into play for this biennium, and instead the dollars have been used for what is known as a Student Success and Wellness Fund. And at this time, we have to add it to our appropriations as a separate fund for these funds to flow through and be expended. Our appropriation for this year will be $767,771. And then for fiscal year 21, it will be 1.1 million. And so it will appear again next year. And then we'll have to see what happens in the next biennium with our state funding program.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion would be in order to approve the appropriation for student wellness and success funds as presented.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appropriations for the Student Wellness and Success Fund 467 in the amount of $767,770.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion?
And Mr. Seymour,
Is that
just.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Yes,
Second?
Mrs.
Thank
Ruggles,
you.
yes.
And just so the board understands in the community, that this isn't new money. They just sort of moved it around, the money, correct? There was no increase from
There's
the
no
state?
increase in state funding,
Right.
correct?
So it's not like this is new money. This is.
It's not additional funding,
Okay.
it's a reallocation of funds.
Right. I just wanted to make that clear, so
Very good
in
point,
case
Ms.
our
Cohn.
community
Yep.
was
Yes.
wondering.
Which you're going to make aware in the next resolution.
Well,
Yeah, somewhat.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that, Mrs. Kuhn. If there are no other observations, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is 8.04, which is the revised 5-year forecast. And Mr. Seymour, back to you.
Yes, back in August when you adopted the appropriations and the 5-year forecast, we weren't sure at that time how they were going to fund the Student Success and Wellness Funds. In the past, a lot of times they have left that within the forecast and separated it out on a separate line. But it has been determined as of October 17th that they are not going to include it in the forecast. It will be a separate fund. That's why you adopted the resolution to appropriate that fund, Student Success and Wellness. So what we have done for fiscal years 20 and 21 is back out the receipts and the expenditures aligned with those receipts in the forecast for those 2 years. And then in the third, fourth, and fifth year, these expenditure plan and receipts remained intact. It's been suggested by most people in most of the meetings I attended that you should probably put those funds back into your general fund at the end of the biennium in your forecast. It's They'll do a study. I'm sure you've read about the Cup-Patterson plan, and I'm sure we'll have a new funding plan within the next 2 years, and those funds will probably flow back into the forecast. So I've reached out on a limb and left them in the 5-year forecast because we do have a levy. You just approved a levy on the ballot. We cannot add additional staffing. We have to move services from the general fund to student success and wellness that are appropriate for those funds. So if you look at the very end of the forecast, the ending cash balance in year 2025 still remains the same. We have just backed out the same amount of expenditures and receipts for 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion is in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised 5-year forecast as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? I just want to say I appreciate the explanation, Mr. Seymour, making it clear that you're moving it around and how you set it up so that we did the first part, where we actually adopted the resolution and then the forecast. So
Sure.
I appreciate that. Okay. Seeing no other observations, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye, that vote passes unanimously. The next item, thank you, Mr. Seymour, for
Sure.
your input. The next item on the agenda is 9.01, which is the school reports. And Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board, this report is strictly for information and discussion. There, on November 3rd, please, parents, remember that daylight savings time ends, and Election Day, of course, is November 5th. No students on November 7th or 8th for parent conferences. And please check your schedules. That's an all-day event. It runs from 8 to 3. And we've been receiving calls asking if the team is going to participate in the playoffs. We don't know. We're waiting for other people to finish their activities in their games on Friday night. So as soon as we know, we'll send out some information letting the public know if we're going to participate in the playoffs and when and where and how to get tickets. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. The next item on the agenda is 9.02, which is the facilities update. And I believe Mr. Denny is probably going to present, but Mr.
Yes,
Smith,
yes.
you have the floor.
Mr. Denny? With his trusty assistant. Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Mr. Smith, and good evening again, Board. Pleased to be able to provide a brief construction update for this month. You should have in front of you.
Time ago, wasn't it?
Feels like a while ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah. Wasn't really that long ago, but it sure does feel like it. But you should have a handout. This handout is a publication that we use to communicate progress weekly. So if you go to our district's main website, www.wintonwoods.org, and click Construction Updates in the lower right-hand corner, it will provide the blitz as well as a wealth of other information for anyone that might be interested. So one of the things I'd like to point out, just in looking at the pictures this week, you can really start to see significant progress with different trades at the building. We're right now a little over 30% complete on the projects, and both of them are very close to one another. One is 30, the other's 31. And in this photo, what's kind of exciting, you can see the photo in the upper right. That is actually standing on the roof deck next to the auditorium, looking over at the auditorium structure. That's actually the stage right there, the area, the proscenium above the stage. And then this bottom photo is flipped around, standing up on top of the deck where the stage is, looking the other direction. You can see down to the academic wing. It's at the highest part of the building. It's over 35 feet tall at that point. There's another portion of the building that's about 31 feet tall. So it does have some presence to it. The upper left-hand corner it depicts the middle school. So it's the middle school. You can see the elevator stack starting to come out of the ground there, and the old high school, the current building we're in. In fact, the room we're in actually in the background of that photo. That's the 712, so a lot of progress there with metal framing. The K6 is similar. The photo in the upper left-hand corner shows roof decking. What's interesting about this photo is you can see the gap between the top of the wall and the roof deck is where the windows go to harvest daylight for the interior of the building. That's a value that we said we wanted. Aluminum stud framing going on. You can see the fire-resistant drywall above that next to the ductwork that's going in. The bottom photo shows the waterproofing, that blue material. And you're starting to see windows boarded up at both sites. That's to hold in the heat that we have to push into the building with the natural gas that we're pulling in from Duke. That's almost finished being installed to make sure that the building's warm. So next heating season, we'll have actual windows there. But for now, we've got the wood. So that's an update. Pleased with the progress. Still on schedule. Still on budget.
I've watched the proceedings of other board meetings where they are building buildings, and I would have to say, Mr. Denny, you're giving us an incredible, compelling update every month, and I really appreciate the time and energy you put into it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I just have, can you remind us the timeframe when it's due to be completed?
Yes.
I always forget.
It's here as well. So the 712 campus is the turnover in the GMP itself is February 4th, 2021. It's actually for both buildings.
GMP?
Guaranteed maximum price, basically the base contract for the job. The contract that the board approved last March, I believe it was, earlier this year. So we are, however, not opening the 712. Well, the 712 opens first. It's spring break, right around spring break, April 2021. And then the K6 opens after the summer. So it gives us an opportunity to get those graduating seniors into the building. Students said that was a big value to them. Some of the students graduating this coming, not this year, but next year, were on the design team in 6th and 7th grade. And really, I think we'll appreciate the opportunity to see some of what they helped envision and even help design some of the ideas behind it, the concepts, come to pass.
So I have
Thanks.
to remind Mr. Denny from time to time because he's picked up a new language. So he's usually in our world of work, we probably have 8,000 acronyms. He's up to 47,520.
Apologies. Yes, sir. You got to call me out on that. Thanks for the opportunity to share this.
Very good. Good
Appreciate
job,
it.
sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Denny. I find that very informative. Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
The demolition of old Horseshoes, is that completed then? Or it's still, or will be?
You guys receive a video?
I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yes.
Sorry,
That's all right.
That's okay. That's okay. It's a good question. Good question.
I appreciate the question, and I would have answered from there, but
Oh, that's
Waycross
okay.
doesn't like that.
Yeah.
They get mad at me. So yeah, the demolition, actually the abatement is concluded, so it's in 2 phases. It's not actually due to be substantially complete until December 1st. So the demolition of Forest View. Abatement's complete, except for some transite panels they have to remove, but everything's basically complete. They're ready to start demolition. We're waiting for utility shutoffs. And it's like herding cats sometimes. We're waiting on Duke to come out and actually remove the electrical infrastructure from the ground so that it's safe to start knocking it over. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Denny, is there any advantage because the building has been sitting vacant for how many years?
Wow. Since 1998, I believe.
Okay. What's the advantage of demolishing it now?
A lot of it is avoidance of cost. We spend about $45,000 to $50,000 a year just keeping that building running, cutting the grass, paying the property insurance,
Any
keeping the
shared
boilers on.
attributes with the OFCC?
Yes, right? The key piece right now is it's in the facility master plan for the district that's approved by the state and the school board. So it actually allows the state to fund half the cost of the demolition.
Very good. Good job.
All right.
Yes.
There you go.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's the cost of doing it.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate, you're juggling and doing many, many things, and we appreciate it very much. Thanks for all
Thank
the
you.
updates.
Appreciate
He
it.
is a juggler,
He is
Mrs.
a juggler.
All right, thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is 10.01, which is under the superintendent's recommendations for the personnel schedules. And Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board, the recommendation is to approve the following schedules in personnel area. Schedule A, resignations. Schedule B, personnel employment for certificated staff. Schedule C, personnel employment for support staff. Schedule D, personnel employment certificated and uncertificated, including extra duties. And then we have our final, which is the Schedule E, which would be the leaves.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board, a motion would be in order to approve the personnel schedules A, B, C, D, and E.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel schedules A through E.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, for being at the ready, just in case. All right, the next item on the agenda is 10.02, which is the proposal for overnight extended student trip for the Academy of Global Studies, the 9th grade, to Michigan on November the 7th through the 9th. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President, I learned some very important information about this particular trip. And I would like my colleague, Mr. Seymour, to elaborate a little bit, because one of our teachers has done an incredible revamping of the program. So, Mr. Seymour, would you mind sharing?
Well, I'll try as best I can. It's Mr. Josh Amstotz, and each year they would go to Arkansas to the Heifer Ranch, which presents the children with a lifestyle of poverty, I believe, and an experience. And he learned real late in the game of preparing the trip that had closed. So in a matter of short time, he's orchestrated a trip to this area.
Totally revamped.
And he has organized a citywide, what is it called? Those, where you look for things.
Like a nature preserve?
Interactive tour.
Thank you, Steve. Scavenger hunt
Hey,
around the
Mr.
city.
Seymour, hold it. That was pretty amazing, where you look for things. Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was going to be closet, desk. That was pretty good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I did real good, didn't I?
Somebody got it.
Yeah, but somebody guessed
Somebody
it.
got it.
A scavenger.
But he's actually orchestrated it and got it all organized, had to get new hotels, had to get an itinerary for all the children, and so.
So I'd like to do something a little different. It's a little unorthodox, but usually it's our committee that selects our community member of the month. I'd like for us to vote tonight to say that it should be Josh Omstead next month. I think that would be a great fitting. So, aye? All right,
It's
very
really
good.
formal, but
Good
yes,
enough.
aye.
Yes.
So Mr. Armstead's going to be next month.
He will be the community
yeah.
person of
service
the
award.
month. Yes.
All right, thank you.
And being on the money end of it, I'm always very impressed with how organized he is.
Totally.
He has everything together. He knows where the money is. He works very well with our office.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Seymour and Mr. Smith.
And I'll
Board-
remember scavenger hunt now.
You'll remember it, okay.
For a while.
Yeah.
Okay, Board, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal for an overnight extended student trip for the Academy of Global Studies 9th grade to Michigan November 9th through the, or 7th through the 9th, 2019, as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion?
Yes, Madam President. I'm sorry, Ms. Moon. You guys would have received that proposal earlier, but since there were some transitional issues that took place, that's why this one's coming at a late date. Usually you would receive them a month in advance.
Based on what we had to accomplish, I think
Yes.
we can move with.
Thank you.
That's what I was that was one of my questions, so that makes perfect sense with what had happened. So will this replace it going forward, or we
Yes,
don't know?
we believe so.
Okay.
Okay,
So, very good.
very good, thank you. Any other observations? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Sure, Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the resolution for the American Education Week from November the 18th through the 22nd. And I will turn it over to you, and then I would like to read the resolution.
Yes, Madam President, the American Education Week proclamation is very important to our community, and I think it would be very fitting if it was read by the President of the Board.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'm queuing it up right now, and I will read it. American Education Week proclamation, November the 18th through the 22nd, 2019, whereas the American Education Week was first observed in December 1921 as an opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of our public schools and to acknowledge the importance of community support for public education. And whereas teachers, administrators, education professionals, and educational support staff working at a local, regional, and state levels serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas the strength, vitality, and freedom of our nation depends on citizens who are dedicated to the education of the next generation through the common school, which welcomes all children and strives to educate them to their highest potential. And whereas partnerships among public schools and their communities help build the support for public education that will sustain this vital institution throughout its many challenges in educating our children. And whereas the Winton Woods City School District Board of Education will ensure quality education for all children that provide them with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values and freedom, civility, and equality. Be it therefore resolved that on this day, October the 28th, 2019, that American Education Week shall be a time to focus attention on the importance of our public schools, its students, and its staff. The Winton Woods City School District Board of Education hereby proclaims November the 18th through the 22nd, 2019 as American Education Week. Having read that, Board, I'd like to entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for American Education Week, November 18th through the 22nd, 2019, as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 10.04, which is the resolution for International Education Week for the same time frame, November the 18th through the 22nd, 2019. Mr. Superintendent Smith, you have the floor again.
Yes, Madam President, I think we are always in a positive light about how many international students we educate in our district. And knowing that there are 31 languages spoken in our district is pretty amazing. And so I am going to ask the Vice President, Ms. Ruggles, to read the International Education Week resolution, in part because of her work with international students at Cincinnati State. I think it would be fitting for her to be the person to read the resolution.
Thank you, Superintendent Smith. International Education Week, November 18th through the 22nd, 2019. Whereas the week of November 18th through the 22nd, 2019 is International Education Week. And whereas we as a nation are charged with broadening our focus and becoming engaged in building international relationships, and whereas we should expand our efforts to learn from other countries about techniques and practices that will help us improve our own system of education. And whereas we should provide leadership in educational issues in appropriate international forums and collaboratively work on initiatives of common benefits. And whereas it is appropriate to educate and encourage students to learn other languages, cultures, and challenges outside of our nation's borders. Therefore, be it resolved that the Winton Woods City School Board of Education formally promotes and supports international awareness in the importance of teaching our students international education skills, adopted this 28th day of October 2019.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruggles. Board, I would like to entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution regarding International Education Week, November 18th through the 22nd, 2019, as presented.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda, thank you, Mr. Smith. The next item on the agenda is the 11.01, which is the Board of Education reports, which is first the legislative report, and Mrs. Kuhn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I made some copies for the board to review some of the activities in both the House and the Senate through the last several weeks since our last meeting. I won't go through all the various activity. There is a couple points. One, the General Assembly did send a Senate bill to Mike DeWine's office for signature. It regards allowing teachers to deduct from their state income tax up to $250. Helps the teachers. Let's see, one thing that did get accomplished. There is some other additional House activity. There's House Bill 310, which talks about enacting anti-bullying and hazing act with regard to school discipline and bullying and hazing policies at public schools and colleges. Obviously, we have those in place now. I'm sure they're continuing to enhance them and I guess make them stronger. That's going on. There was also one other bit that I thought was interesting. It was a bill that requires schools to implement certain programs on and provide instruction about suicide awareness, prevention, violence prevention. That goes on to the Senate. That just happened this week of, September 30th. That was last month. So I don't know how far it's gotten along there, but I did want to bring that up. I think Superintendent or Dr. Johnson, were there some other points you wanted to do?
There was two other points that we had, three. One was the lawmakers, how they were getting into looking at school funding, yes, which is some of what Mr. Seymour has already talked about. And there was the sex abuse education bill that talk about how cases get reported, and that is going to be advocated through the House Health Committee members to approve the education for our children and how they would go about reporting. And the other one was for students with disability to broaden the dyslexia screening. So just kind of, those are things that are on the horizon. They haven't actually taken place, so just keep our eyes open for those things. So that's the only other things I have.
One other thing that I thought was interesting to share with the board on the school funding with the Patterson, they have some additional hearings, and I found this interesting on House Bill 194 that which legalizes and regulates sports gaming and earmarks 98% of the sports gaming profits for education. I don't know what that means, but I thought that was interesting when I read that. I don't know. That caught my eye. So. I can't elaborate any more about what that means, but
More to come.
yes.
More to come. Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. The next item on the agenda is 11.02, which is the Great Oaks Career Technical Center report. Mr. Birdie, you have the floor.
Passed out a few things to you. Touch on the students in spotlight at Scarlet Oaks first, and I hope I'll get these names somewhat closely. Ashmidi Subedi, Scarlet Oaks Surgical Technology, part of the healthcare program over there. Shima Upreti, Scarlet Oaks Secondary Practical Nursing, received the Scarlet Citizenship Award weekly winner, and Rayshawn Walker, who's a veterinary assistant, also received the Scarlet Citizenship Award as a weekly winner. So those are the students highlighted at Scarlet Oaks. And in addition, I gave you just some of the legislative information and reports that were distributed at our last meeting for the Great Oaks, and also a copy of just the cover for the Great Oaks report card from the state of Ohio. And with that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. It's very informative. Very informative. Okay, yes. Questions for Mr.
This
Birdie?
is actually a question for Mr. Birdie and Mr. Smith. There, I noticed the report card doesn't have an overall grade. Is it different for career and technical education that they don't give an overall grade?
It is,
Okay.
yeah. Because they don't have all the other grades in the
Others.
component.
Okay.
So they're working with mostly juniors and seniors.
Oh.
Ours are
Okay.
K through. Good question.
I just didn't know if they had a rubric for career technical.
They actually have an overall, when you add it together, it's a B.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the report card has a lot of different formulas. I didn't think it was gonna be that simple.
It is that simple.
I'm sorry.
That's a good observation. Good observation. Okay, thank you, Mr. Birdie. Thank you, Mrs. Ruggles, for that question. The next item on the agenda is 12.01, board motions and recommendations, and I don't have any other board members. Do you have? It's 12.01. We're on 12.01 now. All right, seeing none, we'll just move on to the next item, which is on the agenda, 12.02, which is the appointment to the Great Oaks Governing Board. And I would like, that's what I wanted to ask you. I'd like to ask Mrs. Kuhn to read the resolution for
Sure.
that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. The resolution to appoint Great Oaks Career Campus Governing Board, whereas the Great Oaks Career Campuses Great Oaks Joint Vocational School District has a vacancy on its board, whereas Winton City School District is a member of the Great Oaks Career Campuses and is authorized by the Great Oaks Plan on file with the State Board of Education to appoint an individual, an appointee, to fill the vacancy. Whereas the Winton City School District has reviewed the statutory requirements for making the appointment, including those in the Ohio Revised Code 3311.19, as amended, in its requirements that the JVSD board members have experience of chief executive officers, chief financial officers, human resource managers, or other business, industry, or career counseling professionals who are qualified to discuss the labor needs of the region with respect to the regional economy, and the requirement that the JVSD board members represent employers in the region served by the Great Oaks and be qualified to consider the state's workforce needs with an understanding of the skills, training, and education needed for current and future employment opportunities in the state, and the requirement that the JVSD board members be selected based on the diversity of the employers in the territory served by Great Oaks. Whereas Winton City School has performed and documented its due diligence in considering the appointee's qualifications, including the appointee's qualifications to meet the legal requirements to serve. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Winton City School District appoints Mr. Jeff Birdie to the Great Oaks Career Campus's governing board for a 3-year term of office to commence January 1st, 2020, and expire on December 31st, 2022. On behalf of the Winton City School Board, I make this resolution.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn, board a motion to approve this resolution would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution appointing to the Great Oaks Career Campuses Governing Board, Mr. Jeff Birdie, to take place 2020.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion?
Mrs. Ruggles, second.
Yes. Mhm.
You said it's a 3-year
Yes.
It is a three-year term.
but it starts 2020? Am I not-
Through the end
January
of
1st.
January
Yeah.
1st,
Yeah,
okay.
the current term
Okay.
expires
Yeah.
December 31st of this
Okay.
year.
Yeah,
Right.
it does expire at the end of this year.
Yeah.
I want to thank Jeff for representing Winton Woods. I think he's done a fine job, and we appreciate the extra work.
I enjoy
that it-
serving on that board.
Good.
It's a good group as well.
Great, thank you. You got a question? What? Say.
Okay.
It's all of
No,
20
I was
it's all
just-
of 2021 and 22.
Oh, I thought it said it was a 3-year term.
All of
21, 20. I'm
20.
sorry, I'm doing a math lesson over here.
Okay.
Okay,
It's all
but
of 2020.
2020, 20.
And it ends at the-
22.
Got it.
Yes, it ends in
Okay.
It's 3 full
2022.
year, calendar years, yeah.
Okay. All right, we got that math
Math, thank
equation.
Thank
The
you.
algebra. It's
I don't know anything about that algebra.
Okay, all right. No other questions or discussion. Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 13.01, which is comments from the members of the Board of Education, Superintendent and Treasurer. Mrs. Kuhn, you have anything you would like to?
Sure. I wanted to, again, it's always joyful to be a member of our board and see all the wonderful activities that go on in our district. I'm always amazed with the innovation when we look at the food services and the fact that Winton Woods hires a chef to come and to prepare, to plan meals for its students. Shows the pride that we have in our district. We're innovative, we're creative, think outside the box. I appreciate all of the staff and their innovation and going out to seek money through it, different innovative ways. Let's see, it was, I forget. Randy, you have to give me a word.
Oh, scavenger hunt.
It's almost like a scavenger hunt, I guess, looking for money out there. But I do appreciate that hard work that our administrators do, and to go bring that money back and to serve the students. And you can see with heartfelt that it's an effort of love. So I do appreciate that, and it always makes me happy when I serve on the board here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Mr. Birdie?
Yeah, just to echo that, it's fun to sit here and, see Mr. Doctor get recognized and him to recognize his team that he works with that makes all that possible. Miss Cipriani, and the joy that she brings to her children and her enthusiasm that you can tell that she has. I think you mentioned it, Election Day, November 5th. We all have an obligation to get out and vote, no matter what our affiliations are. We should all do that. And Dr. Amstutz, it probably would have been easy to say, hey, we can't do this trip this year, but to know that he went and jumped through all those hoops
Right.
for the students so that they could get that experience is another testament to the staff and the people that we have in the district that are working for the students that we've got here. So
I think a true testament is we don't let the kids down.
yeah,
That's what we do. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And the International Education Week with 31 languages being spoken in the
Powerful.
district
Yes, sir.
is a pretty big deal as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. Dr. Cupoletti?
I wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to visit the Warrior Pantry outreach last Thursday. I thought I was going to watch, but I ended up getting involved. And it was, I think I smiled the entire weekend. It was such a nice experience to watch people benefiting from the generosity of the larger community and watching the volunteers. It was started at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I'm pretty sure nobody got paid for the time they spent on the bus. And I really encourage that kind of activity to our needy community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cupoletti. Mrs. Ruggles?
I'd like to echo a couple things that everyone said, and I want to say that I appreciate the staff because I have seen an increase of trying to go out and find monies outside to help support the things that we have going on. I know there's a couple grants that have come down from the Department of Education that I'm sure the team will be looking at. And also, you know, the International Education Week, you know, as Mr. Smith mentioned, I do work in that field of international education, and I know firsthand the importance of making international education a priority as a benefit for both the students who are coming to our country as well as our students. It makes their experience more robust and valuable. So it makes me very proud to be a part of a community that values international education. I'd like to say thank you to my fellow board member here, Mr. Birdie, for continuing on at the Great Oaks Board. I know that that's a commitment. I know that he has a lot of things that's on his plate as we both have commutes, but he gets it done. So I just want to tell you thank you, and we appreciate your service on the board, as well as I was so excited to see that we beat LaSalle.
Yes.
Yes, how about that?
Yes, when I have people call me, did you all beat LaSalle? I'm like, yes, we did. So, that's it. That's it that I have to say.
Yes, very good.
And in my current role, I'd like to say that we did just recruit a physician from Tennessee that actually grew up here in Cincinnati and graduated from LaSalle. So he and I have been texting. So.
Good. That's really nice. All right, Mr. Seymour, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith?
No.
All
Not this
right.
time.
Well, the sentiments of my colleagues have been heard. I echo all of the same sentiments. We can't say thank you enough to our teachers, to our staff, to our community leaders who are community partners who serve as leaders and mentors for our students. We appreciate what you do for our students, and I appreciate this board. We've worked really well together, and I appreciate the time that you put in to make sure that we get the work done, and we do seem to get, you know, quite a bit done, so I appreciate that. So, with that being said, I'm gonna move on to 1401, which is to go into closed session, which I don't think we have a need for an executive session today. So, board, Mr. Smith, Mr. Seymour, all minds are clear, right? Okay, I'd like to say thank you to Waycross community for your service in taping tonight's meeting. And with that said, I'd like to call the meeting of the Winton Woods City School Board of Education regular meeting on Monday, October the 28th, 2019, adjourned. Thank you, stay safe, and we'll see you next month. Meeting adjourned.